Good morning and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the next edition of Dream Reality, a podcast series by iDunn Consulting, which focuses on SME growth, what the leader of a business should be thinking about, what they should be aware of, and what should they be doing if they're thinking about growing their business. So today, it's really exciting to have Claire O'Hanlon, MBE, if you please. A little bit in awe of that. With us today, and she is the Shypreneur coach, which is a really interesting concept, and I really advise you to follow her on her social media, which will be linked in the show notes. So I hand over to Claire to tell us a little bit more about yourself and how did you end up being the Shypreneur coach?
Thank you, Alison. I'm really delighted to be here chatting to you this morning. So, my name is Claire O'Hanlon. I am the Shypreneur coach, and essentially I help quiet women to start, grow and lead businesses that change the world. I have been working in enterprise and business development for 15 years now. So for 13 years of that, I was employed as a trainer and consultant, working mostly with startups and some growing businesses as well. And it would cover everything from communications, leadership, personal development, all of that kind of stuff. And the one thing that I found during that time was that I particularly enjoyed working with women. That's why I work with women right now. But the one thing that I found was that, yes, the women had these great ideas and actually they knew what they needed to do, but there was a gap in the middle of, between what they wanted to do and what they needed to do and what they were actually doing. And so I founded the Shypreneur coach, which was essentially based on myself. They always say that you're your own ideal client. So I was always the shy one growing up in school. I was always shy. Even now, I would probably still be the quietest out of all my circle of friends. But even being quiet, I'm still able to stand at the top of a room and deliver training. I'm still able to stand in a room with 300, 400 people and talk about the charity that I work with. I'm still able to go live on my social media and create a business that I want and to do all of that. And I really wanted to let other quiet women know that it's possible for them as well. So I think society very much praises the extrovert ideal, and that it's good to be always busy and always visible and always out there. But actually there is another way. So as my mum used to say, there's more than one way to skin a cat. And so that's what I do in as the Shypreneur coach.
I love that. And I think that you're absolutely spot on with the whole extroverted side of things. And I've had quite a few conversations with coaches and different people over the years about, the power of an introvert and the actual power they bring, because they're actually listening and they're thinking, and it's just such a different dynamic. And so I love that you're really focusing on empowering these people to recognize that this is a skill, not a hold back, if you would. And within your clients, and how do you see that? Because as a coach, and coaching has evolved very, very broadly, over the last 5 years, and even in the last 2 to 3 years, it's really, really changed. Mm-hmm. Do you see that it's becoming a little bit more mainstream? Or do you see it still really the focus of maybe the large corporates and the larger organizations?
That leadership is, I think it's across the board. So like I have worked with startups for almost my entire adult career, and all of them, it's definitely a skill that they all recognize. And I think particularly in the last few years, leadership has become kind of a buzzword, and I wonder if perhaps the meaning of it has been somewhat watered down because of that. But definitely for me, in my experience, leadership, and in particular personal leadership, so like being responsible for their own life and their own actions and how they respond to things, is particularly prevalent across the board. And like, I'm trying to think of projects that I've worked on. So last year I actually worked on a project which was helping to facilitate the growth of emerging female leaders in third sector organizations. And like, we had people there who were volunteers who had never held a leadership role before in their lives. And we also had people who were CEOs of small community organizations. So it's definitely right across the board.
And I think that that's really great, because I think that's empowering in itself, that people recognize that this is something to investigate more and to, explore more, so that we can become more, not better individuals, but, more aware of how we impact each other, how we react to different situations and our experiences. And, as you're the champion of the introverted leader, and in the SME community, how do you think they need to think, or if they're going to grow their business, or they're considering it, or maybe they have a little bit of doubt, or maybe they've already decided, yes, there's great opportunity here. How do they go about that next step? Or because a lot of them have a lot of self-doubt, me included.
Yeah, well, everybody has self-doubt. And actually, I'm glad that you brought that up, actually, because I didn't say in my introduction, but I am the Shypreneur coach, but that doesn't mean that everybody that I work with necessarily identifies as shy. So I go by Susan Cain's definition of shy, which is a fear of social judgment. And every person that I've ever met on the planet has been afraid of social judgment at one time or another. So it's not just for, people who sit in the corner biting their nails. It's everyone, and everyone has that doubt at some times, and it never goes away. And I think it's probably one of the things that annoy me about some of the things that you see on social media sometimes. The coaches who are telling you, let's go and banish imposter syndrome and all of this, because you don't banish it, you manage it, and you control it. So I think in terms of what introverts can do then, is recognizing that introversion is actually on a scale. So you're not the same level of introvert in every situation. So like, you may be completely extroverted when you're with family or with friends, like when you're in your grandmother's house, you may be completely extroverted and you don't need that rest and that relaxation time after. Whereas in other maybe work situations, you do need that. So I think it's all about building that self-awareness and understanding of your limitations and your strengths, and then building that into your business. So if you are aware that actually back-to-back meetings completely wipe you out, and that you're no good for a week after a day of back-to-back meetings, well, then it's implementing strategies so that you're not having those back-to-back meetings. It's being able to build relationships so that you have collaborations with people who complement you. So if sales calls mean that, really trigger your upper introvert, then, have someone else who can do that for you. And it's building teams really that, as I said, with people that complement you, not that are the same as you. Because I think sometimes there's the temptation to work with people who are the same as you and have the same skills as you and have the same personality as you. And some of the people I work with would actually be quite intimidated by strong personalities, but actually having a strong personality within your team, whether that's a member of staff or like a freelancer, can actually be really powerful in building your business. So I suppose things like that as well. And as I say, work into your strengths. So like a lot of introverts actually would struggle as well if they're, say, in a meeting situation and coming back with a response straight away. They need time to think about it. So being prepared in advance for questions that might come up means that at least you have answers already there, or even for allowing follow-up time after. So committing to never committing to anything, straight away and always coming back. And I read an article a while back that was about there was a research study done that said that the part of the brain that's responsible for your inner monologue is actually more active in introverts than extroverts, which means that it's even more important to, I suppose, do the mindset work and discover the stories and the memories that lie behind that inner dialogue, so that you can then change it and move forward.
So much to think about there, and honestly, it's such a you've just given me like a real light bulb moment with thinking about it as a scale. And I'm almost embarrassed to say that I can't believe I'd never really appreciated that before, but sometimes you need someone to just speak it and just to to do it. But you're absolutely right that in some situations we might be extroverted, and other situations where we're completely uncomfortable. That inner dialogue is really just absolutely, you can't do this, the fear of it, and thinking of it on a scale and understanding, recognizing it, and then making a strategy on how to manage that is really, really key. And I love that. It's just, you know, personally, that's a real light bulb moment. You've just really simplified that down it really concisely.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of that is to do with self-awareness. And, you know, some of us, you know, self-awareness and, you know, self-work is maybe a little bit buzzy now. You know, it's definitely a lot more. I started out working over 20 years ago, and, you know, definitely self-awareness was nowhere on the agenda, you know, but then it's come in, and now, you know, it's really taken strength. And, you know, as different generations enter the workforce and things, it's going to be more and more driven. And how do you think that, you know, that's, you know, large companies and large organizations can do training, they can do classes and things for their employees. How can the small business help their employees or their leadership team on this, you know, self-awareness, you know, constant learning, their self-growth journey of their employees? How can they make that possible without, you know, maybe breaking the bank, or, you know, really, where should the investment be made?
Yeah. So I like to think of this a wee bit like two circles or two balls, whatever you want to imagine. So the outside one is your business, and the inside one is that continuous learning and that self-awareness and that growth mindset. And if you imagine the two circles are connected by links that are immovable, so they're stuck together. So when one of the balls expands, the other one expands. So when that internal ball gets bigger through greater self-awareness and more learning and development, then the business grows as well. So I think it's important to remember that it is actually important, and your business is going to grow, so it's worth that investment in the first place. And I suppose different things that they could do for building awareness, and it's something that I find that is definitely missing. Like when someone starts a job, how likely is the business owner or their employer to know what actually their personal aspirations are?
Yeah.
You know, and by knowing those personal aspirations, you can decide how to work together. You can create more flexible working environments. You can actually support them in their life, and that means that they're more likely to stay with you as well. Because it's just reminded me, actually, I was working with a client a while back, and like they're in the tech industry, and she was telling me that one of the issues that they're facing right now is that with COVID and everybody working remotely, you have graduates coming out now who would have worked locally and, you know, been a great asset to these local companies, are now able to get jobs with Silicon Valley companies, paying them 200 grand a year, which, you know, companies here just can't compete with. But actually, if you're building the person as well as their salary, then they're more likely to stay with you. So it's even just little things like that, and implementing things that don't actually cost a fortune. They can still work the same amount of time. Even putting in place things like where they're not getting paid for their time, they're getting paid for the work that they do, rather than
the contribution.
Yeah, and if they do that in 3 days, great. And if it takes them 5 days to do it, well, that's okay as well. And even that continuous learning as well. So I suppose there, it's even making sure that there is a culture of innovation within the company, because that learning, you know, leads to greater innovation and a greater impact on their clients. And it's making sure from the very beginning that they are aware of that culture of innovation, you know, having ideas generation days, you know, just away days and things like that. Again, they don't have to be expensive. It's just communication, you know, within the organization. And then that's self-growth. So if you are investing in your own self-growth, that's automatically going to inspire other people to be interested in their growth as well. And I think having that culture of personal growth within the organization is really important as well.
Sorry, continue on. My mind is buzzing.
I know I'm just talking. I'm realizing I'm just yakking away here.
No, it's great.
I'm thinking, you know, even things like having opportunities for reflection. So one of my favorite books that I've read recently is called Essentialism.
Yes, I just finished that.
It's brilliant. It's really, really good. And he talks about, you know, having that time for reflection as well. And it's actually just sitting back. Am I actually doing tasks that are essential, or am I just doing tasks that I think should be done for the sake of doing them? So that reflection time is important, as well as that there's having, you know, I don't want to say KPIs because it sounds too formal and I don't like formal, but like monitoring, you know, so are you monitoring new ideas? Are you monitoring personal growth? Because, you know, what gets measured gets improved. So even having systems like that where you are monitoring as you go along, you know, how close are your staff to achieving their own personal goals or, you know, business goals, whatever it may be. So it's, yeah, just making sure that you are putting systems and processes in place as well that monitors that you are actually moving.
And I love, you know, so many things that I could touch on there from what you've just said, but one of the ones that definitely I resonate with is I don't buy into the work-life balance thing, and I've never bought into it. It is, I think that it's work-life balance if you don't love your job. Yeah. But I think that when you have passion and you love your job, you have life balance. And I think you kind of touched on that about, you know, what are you paying your employees for? Are you paying them for their time to sit behind their desk, maybe on TikTok or Facebook because they finished their task? Or are you rewarding your employees based on tasks and actually what their input and their contribution? And I think that when you start to rethink that, then the world of opportunities really comes up. And I think that we should really, I'll get off my soapbox in a second, but I think that really we should be throwing out the concept of the 1950s work structure of 9 to 5. And it may have worked in the 1950s, but we're in a very different situation now. And I think that we're on the crest of the wave. And I hope that we're going to have that awesome surfer that's going to ride that wave and ride in the hybrid working and really change the way, the terms we use around the work environment, why we are paying a fixed salary, you know, open up to the gig economy, the consulting economy, but as well from a very conscientious point, because that brings in, you know, how we think about pensions. Are pensions relevant anymore? Should we be formatting them as something else? How do we look at healthcare and X, Y, and Z, all the benefits that kind of go with the traditional 1950 work scope? So I think you touched on that and how it can evolve and really bring your employees together to a unit and attract employees so that then you can really embrace that, leverage their knowledge to develop your business.
Absolutely. I actually had put something out the other day, a post the other day, and it was like, you can create a business. It's totally okay to create a business that works around you. So your life doesn't have to fit into the little pockets of time that your business leaves over. You know, you can actually create a business that works with you. And you're absolutely right. Like how we work right now is based on, you know, the industrial age when people were working in factories and you know, men were
clock in, clock out.
Yeah, and life just isn't like that anymore. You know, we have two parent working families, and it just doesn't work anymore. It's outdated. But I think, as you said, we are kind of on that crest of a wave, and I think as bad as things may have been over the last 2 years, I think they've actually accelerated that process of cresting the wave a little bit quicker.
Yeah, and just on that, I mean, there's a lot of you know, Ireland economy is going to grow like 9% in 2022, or forecasted. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen, but forecasted. You know, the UK is very similar. And there's a lot of reports that we're going to enter, you know, a bit of a roaring 20s period after the depression of the pandemic. How do you see the, you know, the introvert or the shypreneur embracing this as a time for them to really step up and make the most of the opportunities that are there? Yeah,
well, tie that in as well with the last 2 years as well. Like the 1920s was a period of innovation, which is exactly the same as now. It must be something about every 100 years or something. But Yeah, so like you can't even keep up with the latest iPhone nowadays. Like everything's evolving so quickly, and that really, I suppose, has been due to the internet and other technologies that make things so much easier. And the last 2 years have shown us that actually you can create a global business from your back room, which is like an introvert's dream. You don't have to go out and talk to anybody. But yeah, like how many businesses have we all heard of or read about that, you know, were serving a local market and had to go online during the pandemic, and now they're thriving because they're serving customers all over the world. And I think that works really well for introverts on like so many levels. The first one being that they can actually target clients from around the world now, and they don't have to be physically in front of people, and it's not as demanding on their energy, because introversion isn't about being quiet, it's about how you recharge your batteries. It's not about where you get your energy, but how you recharge after you've used energy. And I think now that they can access clients in a more efficient way, so they can have that downtime afterwards, as well as that, technology now means that they're able to create business models that work more effectively around their introverted nature, so they can create that downtime. Like other people are busy nowadays, they just are, and there's lots of opportunity there to create business models that work for your clients and make life easy for them, while also making life easier for you as well. Even now as well, for finding out what customers want or what your clients want. I remember reading that Henry Ford had said, if I asked my customers what they wanted, they would have told me a faster horse. So that kind of made the old surveys kind of a little bit defunct. Whereas now, you know, social listening, you just have to watch what people are saying online, and you know what they want. And that's a really great source of ideas as well for creating, you know, a sustainable business with an offering that people actually want and that they're willing to pay for. And they can learn so much about how to actually package that offering as well, and how to communicate it, and what the needs of their clients are. I think as well, even when it comes to being visible. So, you know, I remember going to an event a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago.
When they were real events?
Yes, when there were like people in a room. Yeah, and there was a girl, Snapchat was the big thing at the time, and the girl there owned a business, and she was really big on Snapchat, and she was telling the people in the room, you know, you have to have your phone in your pocket all the time, and you have to be live all the time, and you have to post like 20 times a day, and you have to do all of this. And the introvert in me sitting going, oh, what? No. Whereas actually now with technology, there's so many ways that you can become visible, and you don't have to do what someone else tells you to do. Like the gurus are all telling you have to do this and you have to do the other, but actually you do what works for you and what works for your clients. So I love to read. I hate seeing videos on social media, and I never watch them. I'm going to admit, I never watch videos on social media. I always go, like, if there's a blog or something like that. So there are going to be other people like me. So if I write a blog, I'm going to read it, you know. So yes, you do have to, you know, social media algorithms and things like that. So you do have to do videos, and you do have to go live occasionally, but it doesn't have to be all the time and in your face. You don't have to pretend to be something that you're not. Because that's very much what I'm about as well, is creating that success without having to pretend to be somebody else. Because as an introvert, pretending to be someone else takes a lot of energy. So yeah, so it's using technology to become visible, I suppose, in a way that aligns with them and their personality. And even again for introverts and technology, I keep talking about technology, but automations now, like being able to sit and schedule all of your marketing in 1 or 2 sittings, you know, so you don't have to be like physically available every day, and setting up your automation. So you've got your bots now on your social media, you know, you can send a reply to someone without them being there, get back to them properly later. Your email sequences, like everything is just made so much easier now, which is really an introvert's dream.
And these are really the things that, you know, to really, when you're going to grow your business as a small business and you want to, you know, go world domination, these are the things that, you know, you really should be leveraging. That's where your, you know, it's, you know, time and value, you know, where is the value of your time, and where should you be focusing that? And some people will love to do it, and some people will be like, absolutely, can't deal with that, can't do it, it's just going to kill me, and it's just understanding where you are and then leveraging whatever technology is out there to really streamline your processes, to really make the best value of your strengths, and recognizing your strengths. And that's where the value and the growth is going to become sustainable over a long term, rather than just a little blip. Right?
Exactly. Like if you are in an industry where you need to be, posting on social media 20, because like there are some where that just maybe what you need to do. So as you say, it's recognizing your strengths. What can you outsource to someone else if that's not your strength? And I know that a lot of people I work with, they're afraid nearly to invest that money in someone else. They feel like they have to do everything.
You need to spend money to make money.
Speculate to accumulate and all of that. You have to spend it. And I know that it's scary, but actually, and I'll give a good example from my own. Now, I did set up the Shypreneur Academy myself recently, you know me, but it took me a long time. But my course before that, I actually got someone else to do it. And she did in 5 hours, but no joke, would have taken me 3 weeks. I only did it this time because I wanted to understand how it actually worked.
The process.
Yeah. Now, I probably would have said that I couldn't afford to pay someone else to do it, but I did. And actually, she saved me mountains of time that I was able to then work with clients, get the money in to pay again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you definitely do need to invest.
Yeah, it's that awareness thing, strengths versus time. Where's the most value? And I think, that's really the core of it, Yeah. So this podcast is called Dream Reality. So looking into the future, if you had a crystal ball, how would you see the landscape playing out in a dream world? So if the planets aligned, how would the leaders of the future be? What would they look like? How awesome would they be?
Yeah, they would just be normal, everyday people. They would just look like me and you and, all the people that we know. Like in my career, I worked with so many women who are just regular, everyday women. They have fantastic ideas, but they are comparing themselves to that extrovert ideal. And because of that, they're not taking the action that they can. I know that they would be amazing leaders, and that their businesses would make so much difference to their families, their friends, their community, everyone around them. So yes, in the future, it would definitely be more introverted women who are regular, everyday people showing up for their ideas and for the difference that their ideas can make.
Yeah.
And it would be businesses who genuinely actually care about the people that work for them, and they're helping them achieve their goals while their team help them also achieve theirs. Yeah.
Oh, that's so nice. I can't wait to see world domination.
Yay.
I introduced my daughter to she's 5, to the Beyonce song of Who Rules the World. Well, she's just running around school singing that now, and it's hilarious.
Brilliant.
It's very, very amusing. And then I did ask for a couple of recommendations. So do you have a book or podcast that you go back to or you like to recommend?
Oh, so many. I was like, which one am I going to use? So I've just gone with one that actually probably had one of the biggest effects on me. It was a book called The 4 Agreements by Miguel Ruiz, I think it's pronounced. I actually have 4 agreements written up on my board here. They're like my rules for life now. So agreement 1 is be impeccable with your words. 2 is don't take anything personally. That has been a massive shift. Don't make assumptions and always do your best, which is the one that I teach to my kids all the time. I don't care if you get all your spellings wrong, so long as you did your best.
Yeah. So
yeah, definitely my big recommendation. And the songs, again, I don't know if I have one particular song. I love so many, but this past while I've been listening to the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack.
Oh, but that's really good one. I listened to that one. That's really good.
It's brilliant. You can tell I'm a mom of boys, but yeah, so Guardians of the Galaxy, it's all the songs of Star-Lord's Walkman. So definitely recommend it. It's a good one, 90s music.
Yes. Yes, love a bit of that. Look, Claire, thank you so much. I think it's been such a lovely conversation today, and to hear your perspective on minding your energy, the self-awareness, the strengths, and how we can, you know, really leverage on our employee population to really for the development and the growth of the business in the long term. And you brought up some excellent points, and I'd just like to say thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. It was great. So this has been a Dream Reality podcast with iDunn Consulting, and we hope you'll click like, click subscribe, and we'll see you next time.